A man warns a young scientist of his partner's impending doom. When the prophecy comes true, we embark on a story of impossible science and time travel.
Do the agents have what it takes to stop what's happening, or what will happen if this science gets out?
This is not happening.
Mulder, the compound already exists. We have physical evidence.
Only because the old man brought it back with him.
Back from where?
From when, may be the real question.
You're seriously suggesting that this old man is back from the future?
Unless you have a better explanation for how he knew exactly when and how Lucas Mann was going to be killed, why Jason Nichols' fingerprints are inside that patrol car, and how he knew Lucianelli's secret.
So what you're saying here is the old man is...
Jason Nichols. Although common sense may rule out the possibility of time travel, the laws of quantum physics certainly do not. In case you forgot, that's from your graduate thesis. You were a lot more open-minded when you were a youngster.
I know what I wrote, Mulder. I also know that the laws of physics would permit the theoretical possibility of time travel, but the limits of human endurance would prevent such a trip from ever happening.
Well, there's one sure way to prove that theoretical possibility.
How?
Show this photograph to Lucianelli and ask her if it was ever taken.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. You are listening to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast, with me, Andrew, and as always, from the future, my friend Mike. Mike, welcome to the past.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, literally.
Literally.
Because you launched forward. We had a little experiment, folks.
We did.
We wanted to see what would happen if Mike went into the future by about 30 years, see what the world's like, and report back. So, Mike, you're back with us. What are your first impressions of the future?
It's not good. Not good.
Is that all you're that's all you're gonna give us for the 3.8 million we invested in a time travel? You're gonna give me not good?
I don't know how much I should tell you. I should say something so we can maybe change it. But
are you suggesting to me that telling me information from the future might affect the events to follow? I could have some form of causality in the events that will take place in the future.
You are more important than you know, Andrew, in the space-time continuum.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm going to leave you with that cryptic knowledge so you can do something about it.
Okay.
Much like Mulder.
Well, what do I have to do?
I don't know what you have to do. You just have to do something.
Oh, you do sound like an X-Files
You're not very
episode.
busy. Yeah, you don't do a lot right now. But if you could change that, if you could just change that.
Well, wise words, friend.
It'll benefit the world.
Well, of course it would, wouldn't it? Anything you do benefits the world.
Would.
This podcast is an example of us benefiting the world.
I think so.
I think the number
People
of public
think
services
so.
we've done.
Our numbers have gone up the last couple of weeks.
Nice. Clearly the message is getting out. Okay, well, enough nattering on about this flawed intro on time travel. Do we start talking about episode 19 of season 4, Synchrony?
I think so.
Written by Howard Gordon, our friend.
Yeah.
And David Greenwalt. Do you know much about David Greenwalt?
I do not, Andrew. Please.
Well, I did a little Googling. And he is going to be involved in a few episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer because it's launched in March of 97. We're in the X-Files production timeline, April 97. So Buffy is just coming out.
Brand new.
And David Greenwald is one of the writers for Buffy. He's done 8 episodes of Buffy during his tenure there. But he's going to become the creator of the Angel spinoff, and Howard Gordon goes on to write for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So it's a little incestuous world that they swim in there.
Yes, indeed. And if it weren't for the X-Files, it wouldn't exist.
That's right. And here is David Greenwalt slumming in X-Files land. I think he's... Yeah. They were looking at him to write some more, but he just got too busy with Buffy and eventually way too busy with Angel. So
excellent shows. They served their purpose here, and they went on to do some really stellar work on Buffy and Angel.
And we're going to talk about sort of the quality of this script for Synchrony.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll go through the episode first, but ultimately, I think there's a lot of good stuff in this episode. Clearly, the two of them work well together as writers, and I think they create a quality episode. It's not perfect.
For the grand nature of the topic, they managed to keep it almost question-free. Like, they give you just enough to kind of accept it. So,
Yep. And as a
at least
monster of
that's
the week,
how I feel.
as the monster of the week, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I enjoy
Well,
it.
let us travel through time back to 1997, where we will watch this episode, Synchrony.
Yes, let's do it.
Mike, it's night. The camera tracks down across a tree, its leaves blown by a strong wind, until we settle on the Massachusetts Institute of Technology campus, MIT. An older man runs by, and the camera follows, lingering on an old standing clock, whose face reads 11:40. The man slows to a stop, looking around, and eventually settles on his quarry. Two men, Jason and Lucas, walking towards him, arguing. The old man confronts one of the two younger men. The street is dangerous, and the man has come a long way to save this younger man's life. But the young man isn't buying any of it, and the two struggle, Lucas, his books and notes being strewn about. The campus security guard comes over, and the older man continues to struggle, exclaiming that Lucas is going to die at exactly 11:46. The bus. Goddamn buses in X-Files, man. They are just dangerous, aren't they?
They are dangerous. Scarves getting caught.
Yeah.
People walking in front of them.
So the guard drags the older man away as Jason, the other man, watches, intrigued. The old man calls out to Jason by name, telling him that Lucas is going to be distracted by his papers. He won't see the bus at 11:46. And the old man's put into the back of the cruiser, which pulls away. The old man still begging Jason to do something, hitting at the window as the car drives on. Lucas walks away, with Jason following briefly until Lucas dismisses him, saying the two have nothing more to talk about. Jason sees the bus rounding the corner and checks his watch, 11:45. Could the old man be right? As the rain begins to fall, Lucas drops his notes while fumbling with an umbrella. Jason runs to save Lucas, the bus trundling along beside him. And as the clock hits 11:46, the bus slams into Lucas. The bus driver, completely displacing the blame, accuses Jason of pushing Lucas into the path of the bus, as Jason again confirms the time on his watch. Credits.
Oh, and that's not just any watch. That is nighttime watch. Push the button, it lights up.
Ooh,
That
yeah,
was,
nice.
That was special
Did you have one of
in
those?
1997. I did, sir.
I
Good
might
old nice leather band.
I might still have had a Casio calculator watch at that point.
I never had a Casio calculator watch. I felt left out, sir.
Well,
But when I got confirmed, because I was raised Catholic,
right, of course.
and when I got confirmed, I got myself a nice leather banded watch with a nice metal mechanism, and you push that button, and sure enough, it lit up green.
So your dad took you aside and told you about his time in Vietnam and how this
Well,
watch.
son, shoved up his ass. Absolutely.
And when I pushed the light when it was in my ass, my intestines glowed green from
You
within.
just see the underneath the cover is just a little boop.
All right.
Good intro.
This is a good intro. Yeah, let's talk about the intro.
Captivating. Watches aside, I think it was a really enjoyable intro. I think without any words, we know exactly what's happening, right? The old man's warning. There's clocks involved.
Yeah.
The prophecy comes true. It's going to be a time travel episode. So I'm on board so far.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, yes, there is a lot to swing you to the belief that this man is from the future. He has some sort of prophecy. He can see the future. I don't know whether we have enough to think that this is a time travel episode. I think he knows what's going to happen, which is the interesting puzzle, is how does he know what's going to happen? But I dig it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think once we get into the time travel aspect, it's going to get a bit muddy. But for right now, it's a neat puzzle.
It bears mentioning that the old man in this episode is Michael Fairman. He does a great job. He's in plenty of things, but as you gave me permission to do a few episodes ago, he was also in Seinfeld. He was
I
Penske.
did not give you permission to do that. You are selectively remembering that because
when George was supposed to be organizing the Penske file all week and he did nothing. So this is Penske material.
Is that going to be official now? If they did a turn in Seinfeld, we have to mention it?
No, I just do it. because this
You
is
know I love it.
this is my superpower. I know you love that word. So even though no one asked for it, nor does anyone care, I will continue to mention recurring actors and actresses. That being said, Dr. Yonichi is Hiro Kanagawa.
Yes.
And we last saw him in, what was it, Andrew?
Firewalker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy gets some really cool deaths every time he's on the show.
he gets pushed on for sure.
Absolutely.
Well done,
You go
sir.
ahead.
Excellent use of your power. So after the credits, we come back to Mulder's office. Scully is looking at a crime scene photograph of Lucas Menand as Mulder brings us up to speed on his death. Jason Nichols is accused of pushing Lucas into the path of the bus, charged by police, but they were also seen arguing. So, why is Scully looking at this file? Well, Mulder plays a videotape of Jason's account. He was trying to save Lucas, who relates the evening's events. The old man, the time, the place. The plot thickens as Mulder reveals the old man was taken into custody, but it's impossible to talk to him or the security guard who arrested him, as he's disappeared and the guard is dead. And when Scully asks, of what, we cut to the Boston Medical Examiner's office. Where the coroner can't make an official determination as to the cause of death, he pulls back the tarp on the corpse to reveal the card has been frozen solid. More baffling, as Scully takes the temperature of the corpse, we learn that the corpse is actually getting colder. The coroner is betwixt and between as to what to do, and Scully and Mulder have a good think. Scully rightly points out that while this is interesting, it doesn't do anything for Jason Nichols' alibi, who Mulder thinks might be able to shed some light on the situation. Okay, Mike, what do you think of the corpse getting colder plot nugget here?
That is interesting. Not something I was expecting at this point. My first time around, I was like, okay. So the old man escaped. I do like Scully's interest in that. Like, so they caught this supposed ghostly elderly man that Jason's talking about because she thinks he's full of crap. Mm-hmm. And then the security guard turns up dead, and he's slowly freezing and continuing to get colder. So that is the first big reveal of this episode. Why is this guy being affected like this?
Yeah.
And what does it have to do with the larger plot? So that was unexpected, but cool. A cool way to die for the X-Files.
So, you know my love affair with the Handy Verlitz and the Coriolis effect of the water fountain. This is another example of that, where the body is getting colder.
Despite physics and science.
Despite physics. It's like, and they look at it like, oh, wow. Huh. So what are we going to do about this murder?
To be fair, if they called the CDC for everything that was baffling, they'd be on the phone quite a bit.
Yeah, but...
So, I mean, it would behoove them to do some investigating before they just launch into, we need to call NASA.
Yeah.
I know you like to do that. I know you like to get the problem done. You see the problem, you call for a resolution.
No,
I admire that, sir.
I am not going to even go there. I am just pointing out that in this case, as with the waters going down backwards and we're in the wrong hemisphere for that, it's just completely walked by. It's this, and it's Howard Gordon who does this. He's like, let me give you something so incredibly crazy. It makes us all go,
and more crazy is coming because it's Howard Gordon and because we're blowing by it.
But I just object to the lack of awe. This clearly crazy thing.
So would that have satisfied you a little bit more? Like if Scully was like, this is a big deal. This is insanity. There's a guy, Andrew. He's going to be calling bullshit if we don't react to this appropriately.
Well, that is what's going to happen. I think the problem is there is nothing anybody can say that would satisfy me because, frankly, the episode has to take a completely different direction based on this one thing. It's like it's just so incredulous that now it becomes a show about how is it possible that, it's an unsolved mysteries episode is what it is.
Right.
So I think they needed a different thing where essentially here's how you solve it. The doctor they're talking to, who says that he's betwixt and between about what to do, the coroner, he needs to say, look at this temperature graph of the guy. He came in and his temperature actually kept on going down until he broke apart. And then they show the body parts of that, he broke into, and now he's getting up to temperature. Like that, at least you can go, wow, that crazy thing happened. But, we're past it. There is no further explaining it at this point. But the fact that it's getting colder just suggests to me that there's magic, or there's something I can't explain, and we're seeing it. Why aren't we spending time on that? So
no, I got you.
It is now.
I got you.
It is now canon as the second thing about the X-Files that is unexplainable and pisses me off.
Oh boy.
Yeah. There you go, X-Files. You're on notice. So, shall we move on?
We shall move on.
I can continue to lament about this if you want.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. As you enjoy another Twizzler there.
Yes, sir.
At the 6th precinct, Mulder watches Jason talk to a woman who holds his hand as she leaves. Mulder talks to Jason, revealing that the guard has died by mysterious circumstances, flash freezing. Jason thinks he's being played with, adding that Lucas threatened Jason's reputation. Lucas threatened to go public on a claim that Jason had falsified his research data, a charge that Jason denies. Jason's under pressure to produce results. His grant is up for renewal, and Lucas was under consideration for the same grant. The grant funds research cryobiology, the effects of freezing temperature on biological systems. At which point I go, duh, duh, duh. This
revelation
guy is more guilty than he was before.
Right, yeah. He has just implicated himself big time.
Yeah, you're not really helping your case by talking. Get your lawyer.
Yeah.
Mulder gets a phone call. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say he doesn't know the first rule of don't talk to the cops.
Yeah.
Without a lawyer.
Well, Mulder gets a phone call from Scully, who thinks Jason Nichols may indeed be responsible for the murder of the security guard, as Scully has found Jason's fingerprint on the guard. Well, looks like it's all wrapped up here, Mike. We can go home early.
Any other case, any other department, detective, he would be going away for a long time.
He sure
But
would.
no, Mulder shows up.
Mm-hmm. There's something going on here.
This guy's lucky. Well, not really.
He's not lucky at all. Shit is happening to him. We cut to the James Monroe Hotel later that evening. At the front desk, Dr. Unici is getting absolutely no help from the concierge. He has a confirmation and everything, but she has no record of it. My God, this Boston is a very unfriendly city. She turns him away just as the old man arrives to greet Dr. Unici. The old man apologizes that there was an error in setting up Dr. Yonici's accommodations and has come here to take him to his new room. Yonichi knows Jason Nichols, but when he asks the old man to identify himself, all the old man will say is that he's a great admirer of Yonichi's work. This is apparently enough to satisfy Yonichi, and the two go off together.
Thank you. I appreciate you being an admirer of me.
Let me put my trust in you, an unidentified old man.
I don't know about you, man, but I trust you.
But I trust you.
Please come into my hotel room.
They arrive at a hotel room, the bellhop leading them inside and not getting a tip from either the old man or Yonichi for his trouble. The old man is sweating profusely, something Yonichi notices, offering some water to the old man, who closes the door and comes inside. As Yonichi fills a glass with water, the old man apologizes. He was responsible for the hotel mix-up, but he then goes on to explain how Dr. Yonichi's research was critical to the work produced by the old man. Specifically, a process called vitrification, which Dr. Yonichi claims he hasn't figured out. The old man explains how Yonichi will figure it out as he subtly produces a device in his hand, and that Yonichi's paper will change everything. He then pricks Yonichi's palm with the device as the doctor drops the glass. The old man apologizes as Yonichi's hand turns white, and he screams in pain as we fade to black. All right.
Ooh.
What do you think of that scene? Because I think there's a lot going on in there.
A lot of information, or beginnings of information, and then we get the device that killed the security guard in the opening scene. And now, when we come back, it's going to be another frozen person.
Classic.
I like that, he's got some sort of auto injector that kind of does the job for him. It's not some crazy superpower.
Yes. Yeah, he doesn't
That's a
scrunch
good
his head,
sign.
and the guy shakes violently and gets frozen.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the beginning of the information that we're going to need, and they start to explain some stuff, but they don't go too far into it, which is good.
Well, they certainly ride heavy into the idea that this is time travel.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's like, you will figure it out, and I thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's time travel, and you got to get on board with that. So we fade back into the bathroom scene, now a crime scene, with the frozen body of Dr. Yunichi. Scully peers incredulously at the body, spying the injector site on Yunichi's palm. Mulder arrives, confirming that Yunichi arrived with an older man. Scully assumes that Nichols now has an accomplice. Mulder has other ideas. Scully mentions the pinprick injection sites she's found on both Yunichi and the security guard, and shows Mulder some lab results on the site found on the guard. Scully reveals that there's an unidentifiable chemical compound present. Scully thinks Jason Nichols knows what it is, but Mulder wants to talk to someone else first. And who's that someone else, Mike?
The girl.
The girl. We cut to a biomedical research facility later that evening. Mulder and Scully arrive, tracking through the super sci-fi lab as the camera settles on a woman, Jason's girlfriend, Lisa Iannelli. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I say her last name. Lisa.
Iannelli.
After some greets, Scully shows Lisa the lab analysis, and Lisa gets a bit cagey. She recognizes the analysis. It's a catalyst, a rapid freezing agent, something Jason has been working on for years. The challenge has been that when something freezes, the water in the cells turns into ice crystals, grinding the cell up from the inside out. But if the freezing can happen fast enough, the water freezes differently, allowing the cell to survive being thawed, at least according to Jason's theory. And it's a theory because the compound that enables this transition doesn't yet exist. Scully reveals the traces of the compound were found in murder victims, including Dr. Yunichi. Lisa's surprised, but asks when Yunichi was found, a little over 2 hours ago, and reveals that Yunichi may not be dead. What?
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's
a
peeling
twist.
back of the layers. Yes, that is a twist.
Yeah.
He can be thought out.
It's a really interesting idea. The idea that, you have this trope of people gradually getting killed off one by one, but that you could maybe restore them back to life. That's new. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So we shift the scene to Dr. Yunichi in a path of yellow liquid, a breathing tube intubated into his lungs. They have raised his core temperature and proceed to try to resuscitate him. Scully doesn't think this is going to work. Yunichi's body temperature was 8 degrees Fahrenheit, which I don't got to tell you, pretty chilly.
Pretty
The lowest
cold.
The lowest body temperature ever recorded was 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which strikes me as high, but I'm sure they did their research.
I'm sure they've done some sort of research. They throw random facts at us every episode or two.
It's 28 degrees below what's average, so
Yeah.
not bad.
It's believable.
Mulder rightly points out that Yunichi has nothing to lose. He's already dead. So injections are made, the defib paddles are brought out, and we launch into one of Hollywood's best and oldest tropes, restarting the heart with a defibrillator. But after the usual 3 blasts of electricity and some good old drugs, Yonichi's heart is restarted and he comes back to life. Everyone's in great spirits and Yonichi struggles to breathe until the machine that goes beep starts going beep a lot, and Mulder notices that Yonichi's internal temperature has risen to over 103 degrees. As they try to figure out what to do, Yonichi literally bursts into flames.
Oh boy. This is one way to go, man. I feel bad for this dude. He's died 3 times in 2 episodes.
That's right. Twice in the same episode is pretty amazing.
Twice in the same episode.
That's got to be some kind of
From
record.
extreme cold to bursting into flames.
Yeah.
Oh, this would suck.
I'm not sure if I mean, look, it's the chemical in his blood. It's the super science mystery chemical that can continue to freeze you after, it's so powerful that it can continue to freeze you, and now it goes the other way and it will burn you up. I mean, I guess I buy it because it's so powerful.
For some reason, it makes some weird sense.
It does. Yeah.
I can understand and buy that they're telling us that if this chemical is mishandled, how they're doing it, it will just have such a violent counter reaction or something. I don't know. It just works for me in this episode. I don't know why, but
it does. You know what doesn't work for me? I should save it for later, but the time travel aspect of it, they didn't need it.
They don't need it. But without it, they don't have the mystery.
They don't have the cool opening.
So they would have had to come up with something else that would do this or get them here.
Yeah. Which
and I'm not sure what they would be able to do.
I'm sure you could write it differently. It's just the time travel thing gives them a convenient two-shot, like it's two stories in a way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of science that they throw at us to make it make sense. I'm not sure it's necessary, but anyway, we'll get into that later.
I gotcha.
Later, firefighters are leaving the area as we see the charred corpse of Yonichi. Scully quizzes Lisa on what could have happened.
Lisa, what happened? And what could have happened to create such a violent cellular reaction?
I don't know. All I can think is the compound used to freeze him must have been unstable.
So raising his body temperature may have catalyzed an opposite reaction, heating him internally.
I question now if we should have removed him from the tub. I think we might have saved him.
I think the real question is how somebody could have had access to a compound that doesn't exist.
Let the chief know.
I'm sorry. I need to talk to Jason.
So we cut to a bus.
Hurriedly. She power walks out of that building.
She will not be stopped. And frankly, why aren't the agents giving her a ride?
Right. Because that's just too convenient. They do have to split up. If they don't split up, she's not in danger.
Sure enough. They have something else to do. I guess they're going to go get lunch or something.
God, I'm dying for some Subway.
We cut to a bus where Lisa notes the presence of the old man who is following her. She gets off. So does the old man. Lisa, with her cunning tradecraft, sees the old man following in a mirror and dodges around a fountain, going into a building. The old man hobbles to catch up and is eventually confronted by Lisa. She demands to know who he is, but he changes his tune. He wasn't following her. What? When she accuses him of murdering Lucas and Yonichi, he grabs her wrist and threatens that he came to kill her too, but doesn't. She pleads to know who he is, but he can only stare at her and walk away.
I feel so bad for Mr. Fairman here because I thought he was going to stroke out on those stairs. Could they have picked anyone a little bit more capable at this point? I do know that he does fine. But
I think he's a spry old guy. I think what they're accentuating is that he is not well. Like that is
exactly
what Yonichi noted, and we're getting it here, but he acts it real good. Yeah. Okay. We're good.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know whether you were looking at notes or we're going to say something else.
No, you're good.
Okay. After the commercial, Lisa looks at the sketch of the old man, relating the circumstances of her ordeal. Scully prods Lisa to tell the truth. If she's holding anything back, she could be held responsible. Lisa admits that she was the one responsible for falsifying the data for the grant. Scully puts some pieces together. The old man is doing what Jason can't, protecting Lisa's secret by killing the people who could reveal that Lisa falsified her data, which, of course, this is not, in fact, what the old man is doing. But I like the noble motive that she assigns to it.
She scullifies it and makes sense of it as best she can.
She is so wrong about everything in this episode. A police officer comes over to the agents to inform them that they've spotted the old man at a hotel nearby called the Lighthouse. Mulder asks the cop to get Lisa home, and the agents head off to find the old man. We end the shot with Lisa looking at the sketch of the old man. Does she recognize him? Mike, does she recognize him?
I think they might want us to think that.
I think so.
But I don't see it. It is a good sketch, though. That's
a pretty great sketch.
Very, very close sketch to the actor. An uncharacteristically accurate sketch, I should say.
But it's the FBI. They got the best sketch artists.
Almost as good as what's his face from
that other episode?
Revelations.
Oh, yeah.
Jarvis or whatever.
Yeah, that was the best. We cut to an exterior of the Lighthouse Resident Hotel. And I got to tell you, I Googled up and down to try and find out where this was, because it's clearly somewhere in Vancouver, but struck out.
Clearly.
Didn't find it. Mulder and Scully knock on the door and enter, revealing an unused room. The manager has revealed the old man is living here for 5 days. Scully finds Yonichi's flight information. Mulder finds a photograph of Yonichi, Lisa, and Jason clinking glasses of champagne. Mulder uses his superpower to figure out that this is a celebration of something that has never happened, and he knows who the old man is as they leave the room.
Scary stuff.
Yeah.
Mulder gets it.
Sorry, I'm pausing because you have a look on your face sometimes like you want to add something, and then there's this time.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Do you think it is a logical conclusion for Mulder at this point?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Okay.
No,
where does your head go here? It's just way too simple at that point for him to come to that conclusion?
Well, the plot doesn't give us any other details to work with. So,
Right,
of course, we have to come to this conclusion. But,
yeah,
I mean, I guess you look at that picture and you go, well, what else could it mean, right?
Right, exactly. I mean,
the other thing is they could all be lying. I mean, maybe they do know. Mm-hmm. Maybe they had met, in secret. We, the audience, know that they haven't met or that Yonichi hasn't celebrated anything because we saw the pre-death sequence of Yonichi saying, but I haven't figured it out. But I mean, it could be that they did connect on something else. And anyway, we are getting the synthesized version of the plot because we're the audience, and thus we are coming to this conclusion. How Mulder comes to it, I think, is a little bit stretched because, there could be any number of reasons why this picture.
He just takes it at face value. They told him they've never met. Yep. So this picture could not have happened.
Exactly. It's like, they could have lied. Okay. Mulder lets his superpower go rampant. He determines that someone, the old man, is trying to prevent the future from happening. And here, Mike, I suggest we use the back and forth between Mulder and Scully, where he starts to think about it, Scully. If Lucas Manan never gets hit by the bus, his complaint gets heard before the grant committee and blah, blah, blah. All the way down to Scully saying, Mulder saying, show this photograph to Lisa Ionelli and ask her if it was ever taken. It's pretty good.
Because that's foolproof. Foolproof.
Oh, yeah. She's going to tell you the truth. No, his photograph's never been taken.
This has never been taken.
Yeah. Well, later that evening, the old man exits the elevator of the Lighthouse Hotel, going to his room. And, Mike, shouldn't the police be sitting on this location? I mean, he's a multiple murderer now.
He's at least suspected of having something to do with it. And while they can't prove it's him, he's definitely part of this case. So he should be cased out, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Cops should be on the scene at all times.
If not Mulder and Scully, they've done stakeouts. I don't understand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say he snuck in. That's the only thing I can imagine. So we soon see him by his bed, injecting himself with a strange medical device. This seems to make him feel better as the door opens in the background behind him. It's Lisa, who addresses the old man as Jason. She's figured out his secret.
How is this possible?
Because you made it possible. It was you.
How? I need to know.
"30 years ago. 10 years from now, you'll be at a conference in Zurich. You'll meet a man named McGuane who's just discovered the first evidence of tachyons. Subatomic particles that can travel faster than the speed of light. And go back in time, but only for a few seconds. And only at a temperature of absolute zero. But from that, and from your correspondence with McGuane, you'll have an idea. A revelation.
What revelation?
one so remarkable, it would change the course of history.
Then why did you... You said you came back to kill me.
But I couldn't do it.
You're cold. Jason.
Yes.
Jabs her with a medical device.
I think they should embrace one more time in sexual congress.
Even Fox won't let us have that. Not with him.
Lisa, just one more.
You remember I was very good.
I was good, baby. I gotta be honest. I think this guy, very well played, Michael Fairman.
Oh, he's a great actor. He does so much with the script.
Yeah, when he talks about a world without history, I think that's a really cool concept. And
yeah,
it's the time travel that you always want to see. Is what would it be like if this actually existed and people had access to it, or the wrong people per se? But I don't think I've seen any media tackle it that way. Maybe I'm missing something, but have you seen anything that tackles the idea of, other than Back to the Future, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about living in a world where time travel exists and that people know about it.
The only thing I can think of is I know Star Trek had it's kind of a subplot with kind of time police.
Okay.
And I don't remember which branch of Star Trek that was, but they would have like these time cops come back and say, you've got to do this to preserve the timeline or something. And that turned into a plot
a little
device.
Familiar.
Yeah. So clearly the tack that they took was that there is an assigned way that history unfolds, and that it is possible for the future to be changed by malefactors who come back and want to alter it, to change how the future will play out, which of course invokes the elephant in the room when it comes to time travel stories, which is paradox.
Paradox, yeah.
Because if you could come back in time and change something, would that not affect how the future played out and thus prevent you from going back in time in the first place?
Right. And that's yeah, exactly.
They don't solve that.
Go into one big loop
yeah,
of what exists and what doesn't exist, what's possible and what's not. It's funny that you mentioned that because they tried to approach it in Back to the Future.
They did.
Where the Marty was going to die if he did not fix what he needed to fix. Not just because of his story, but because like if the timeline didn't get fixed, then
he would never exist.
That Marty was going to die. So
yeah, he needs to get his parents to fall in love so that he can be born, and then the timeline is restored.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is what we're having here, basically, just differently. Like the old man character, old Jason, he wants to go back and disrupt the timeline so that the events that destroy the future, that we have no history in the future, will not happen. But surely he's ideally positioned to realize that if he does that, then he can't be in the future to come back and make those changes in the past. So,
and I do get the sense from the way Fairman's playing the character that he's resigned himself to dying, and he's okay with that as long as he can save the world. Like it's unwritten and it's completely in my head, but I feel like that is okay with him. He needs to complete this mission because the world that he helped create is just a terrible place. So he's just trying to fix it.
Well, this is another classic X-Files problem of telling a greater story than you have time for. Like they got 42 minutes to do this, and this is a movie is what it is. From what the canvas that they are choosing to paint their picture on, it's huge. Like, what is this future society? That's the story I want to hear about. It's totally alluded to that it's bad what they've done. So he's taken this leap to come back to fix it so that they won't have this dire situation. But Think of what you could do. If you could change things in the past, well, you could alter the course of future so that we don't have a climate crisis. Like, there's a lot of possibilities for good here, but we don't
a lot of good,
a
lot of bad.
A lot of bad. All right, well, we fade to commercial after Lisa meets her frozen end, and we return to the precinct with Jason being released. Mulder has paid his bail. Something's happened to Lisa, and Mulder wants to take Jason to see her. Mulder confirms the old man is responsible and drops the truth bomb on Jason. The old man is old Jason. In the car heading over, Mulder shows Jason the photograph, and Jason confirms this event never happened. Because, of course, he's telling the truth. Anyway, Mulder confirms the photo is authentic, but Jason does not believe it. Mulder drops a bit of exposition about time travel, and Jason posits that his compound will make time travel possible. But why stop this discovery? That's the mystery. Jason laments that if it's truth, then what happened to Lisa is Jason's fault, which it is in a roundabout way. So, yeah, no, it's not good. But okay, all right. If you want to feel guilty, feel guilty.
Yeah, right.
The two of them arrive at the biomedical research facility where Jason checks in on the super advanced hand scanner, and they're about to head out when the security guard reveals that Jason has already checked in. Old Jason is in the house.
Didn't I see you before? You were just here, man.
But you were a lot older.
Yeah, I think it's funny how the security guard lets old Jason in. They've got this super advanced hand scanner.
Yeah.
But there's no like ID that pops up. It's like this could have all been prevented here.
Yep. Checks out.
They
Old
just
man
had
Jason
a visual ID.
Yeah. Maybe he was looking at a magazine at that point. The computer only beeps if you scan twice in 15 minutes. So Mulder tells Jason to go and find Scully and let her know that the old man is here. And then Mulder leaves. To which I say, Mulder, you've got a goddamn cell phone.
Come on, dude. You're on it all the time.
Exactly. Why? It is so transparent that he needs
Plot
to...
hole.
Yeah, it needs to split up the party at this point so that Jason can confront old Jason. But anyway, that's what happened. You can't question history.
Yep.
In the Frostbite Bay, the medics and Scully are going to revive Lisa using the same method as they tried on Yonichi. And they succeed, and Lisa's heart starts beating, but her core temperature starts rising again past 106 degrees, and it takes Dr. Scully to have the revelation to put Lisa back in the cold bath, which they do and hope. Meanwhile, Mulder wanders through the lab until he happens upon a scientist. He's obviously a scientist, Mike. He's wearing a white lab coat.
He's got a coat.
Yep. He turns out to be a research assistant of Dr. Nichols. Mulder asks the assistant to pull up Jason's research as Mulder's phone rings. See, Scully knows how to use a phone. Lisa's temperature is holding. Looks like she's going to make it. She's too pretty to die, Mike. Scully, well, you know. Scully reveals that young Jason is nowhere to be seen, despite Mulder having sent him to her. Doesn't he do a thing he says? Oh my God.
Come on.
We see that Dr. Nichols' files, his data, is gone. It's like someone has completely erased it from the mainframe.
I hate this guy. It's all whacked.
It's all whacked, man.
What do you mean whacked? I love Mulder's reaction because that is exactly what I would say. What the fuck are you talking about? No one uses this word.
Nobody in the 90s used that. Then
it's all whacked.
Yeah.
I've never heard that in regards to file deletion.
That is Howard Gordon and his non-knowledge of computer stuff.
It's all zip-zapped. Nothing's
It's all
here,
been zippy-zapped, man. This is crazy. Well, Mulder flees as we cut to old Jason hard at work on a computer, erasing the files from the mainframe. In the background, young Jason appears, confronting old Jason. Old Jason doesn't have much time, begging young Jason to just let me finish. Old Jason reveals that the future is a nightmare. There's no history, no hope. Anyone can know anything that can happen, which, I don't know about you, Mike, but it sounds like pretty cool. It doesn't sound like a horrible thing. But I guess it's horrible. It's made old Jason's life horrible.
Horrible, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the two coming together and why is the time-space continuum not ripping apart? Because they allude to that in plenty of other science fiction, if you should happen to come across yourself, bad things are going to happen.
They do, but I think that
I know it's fine.
I think Howard and Mr. Greenwald here have come up with their own rules for time travel.
Absolutely.
In this episode.
Absolutely.
And we need a dramatic conclusion. I think they wrote backwards from the conclusion we're about to see, and thus we need them to be allowed to have this confrontation. So,
absolutely.
Jason says it's horrible in the future. I've got to go back and fix it. Young Jason is desperate. He demands old Jason tell him the secret to time travel so he can go back in time to save Lisa. Like that's going to happen. Mulder arrives. He sees the confrontation unfold. The door to the room is locked, and they're separated by a glass wall. He yells to young Jason to let him know that Lisa has survived. Young Jason, stunned by this revelation, doesn't see old Jason creep up behind him, lock his arms around him, and let his unnatural presence come to its natural conclusion. Old Jason bursts into flames. And as Mulder tries to smash his way through the glass with a fire extinguisher, he doesn't get through in time as we fade out. Well, what do you think of that conclusion? That amazing little bit of violence.
I mean, it's neat. You know, we were expecting someone else to burst into flames. We figured after Yonichi that is what he's suffering from.
Yep.
I don't know that I'm okay with taking out of young Jason.
It's karmic.
I feel
young Jason cannot survive this episode.
I feel like it would be better, and we're going to get to the ending here in a few seconds. So you go ahead. I'll just save
We'll save it for that. Okay. So later on, Lisa's being wheeled out in a gurney with Scully. Lisa is going to be just fine. Scully is not sure what to believe, but Lisa's convinced the old man was Jason. Scully drops the bomb that Jason is dead in a fire in the mainframe room. Lisa's taken away in the ambulance as Mulder comes to join Scully. There was no sign of the old man. The two share a moment as they walk away. Mulder's convinced that time travel will eventually be discovered. We crossfade to sometime later with the camera tracking through a lab at night. Lisa is working hard, continuing her research on the cryo molecule. And we fade out as the episode comes to an end. All right, Mike, lay your final thoughts on me.
It's interesting. And I will say that the story is written and I believe wrapped up nicely enough as a whole for the general viewing public to understand. They try to explain it just enough about the science and what goes into this and why it works, but it doesn't matter. It just works, and it's clean enough for the episode to tell its story and not just leave the audience in the dust. One episode that risks that is Soft Light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where they try to get too wordy with it. And I don't know. I don't understand how this works, but I get the general idea.
Yes.
So obviously this is make-believe. What they're telling us doesn't work, isn't real, but the way they explain it, the way the episode handles it, it makes sense for me. Yeah, I think it's a middle-of-the-road episode. It's just not impactful enough for me, I don't think.
Mm.
And one of the things that holds it back for me is I feel like they took the typical X-Files exit with that and having Lisa questionably continuing the research. I think they could have made a little bit more powerful of a statement and keeping young Jason alive and choosing to destroy his work and either go to prison or choose some other life. I think that would have been a little bit more powerful of a statement in the sacrifice he's making, believing this old man was actually him. I think that would have been kind of cool.
Mm.
But instead we get the zoom in on the eyes and, you know, the bad guy's eyes open or something.
Yeah.
That's what's happening again. So it's okay. Doesn't destroy the episode, but I mean, it's just small preference. Overall, it's a good episode. It's just not, I feel like it does fall into that twilight zone of X-Files where you just forget about it.
Yeah. I agree with most of what you said there. I think my issue with it is, and we haven't had this particular phenomenon for a while, but the issue is they've packed too much story into the episode by taking a really interesting time travel concept and merging it with an interesting kind of cryobiology concept. And now we've got we've got two scientific problems that they're trying to explain to us. And it gets kind of confusing to me. they do dumb down the effects of it. Like, this device can both kill and keep him alive by making people really cold or really hot. So I mean, I get it's kind of a magic MacGuffin, right? It's all it is. We don't really need to explain it, but I feel like either one of those stories could have been interesting on its own. You know, if they kind of took more Vince Gilligan's tack to take a single story element and stretch it to its interesting endpoints, as we'll see, you know, next week in Small Potatoes. But in this case, they packed so much into it. It feels like you needed more time to be able to really get there. Like, you have small moments where they're able to discuss the impact of this technology and the results that it can have. And we don't really even know that there's a problem. We just have the old man's word for it. So
yeah,
it's not a great episode to me. There are enough plot holes that I literally say, but wait a bit, what about this? You know, at least 3 times in this episode. So when I'm doing that, I'm checking out from the episode.
Right. Right.
And the only way they solve that is to go so fast that you can't follow it, but they give us time to mull, you know, and that's where the episode kind of falls apart. So, and they can't resist coming back to Lisa continuing to work hard. Maybe one day she'll solve the problem. That's also a typical Howard Gordon thing. He just can't give up the thread. I think it would have been more impactful if the end scene with her is her burning her research. You know, it's like, you know, Jason's sacrifice was to come back and stop this. I know I've devoted my life to this.
She believed it.
Yeah.
So I mean, why not?
Yeah. So, you know, there's a whole story there of her eventually discovering time travel and now going back to save him. I suppose you could say that's why she's doing it. But I don't know. They make these choices. They're a bit simple. And thus I think that it's a bit of a meh episode. So yeah, that's where I land with Synchrony. I think it's okay, but it's
middle of the road.
Better ones. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So
middle of the road.
Shall we get out of the middle of the road? Take the off ramp to listener comment time.
Listener comments. Yeah, sure. Liza M says, terrific visuals, some strong performances, and a really weak episode. So she did not like this one at all, I don't think.
I think that's a good takeaway, yeah.
That's a fair assessment.
It's a fair point. Aaron Haycraft says, like any time travel story, if you think about it too hard, it falls apart immediately. But I do appreciate that the show sort of closed the door on time travel by having its inventor kill his past self. I appreciate it even more than the killing is with sudden human combustion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And this is
way to go.
He's talking about me, isn't he? By saying if you think about it too much, it falls apart.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's fair.
Emily Messenger says, Mulder quoting Scully's thesis to her. My eyes could not roll any further back in my head. That's really all I've got. This one has always been meh for me. Yes. So I think the general consensus is that it's meh.
It's meh. Yeah.
It's meh.
That's absolutely appropriate. Thank you for those comments, everybody. Again, when you say what we think, we like you even more. So
good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this episode, there's not a whole lot more to say. I think they could have made it a 2-parter maybe, but they would have been able to expand a little bit.
I would not waste the bandwidth on this one for a 2-parter.
No.
Yeah.
I know.
But you're right. Boy, that's interesting. Would it have been better if they had devoted more time to it and allow it to stretch? I think for me, okay, here's the question for you, Mike. Between the time travel story and the cryobiology story, the chemical that just can't quit, which is the more interesting story that they could tell?
I think the chemical.
I think so too. I think it's easier to explain and write a story around, whereas the time travel one is just so nebulous, right? Like, what are the stakes here? Whereas you got somebody who's invented the killer chemical that can freeze people to death, and then you can possibly bring them back. I think that was the interesting through line of the episode. The time travel stuff never really resolved for me. So
they completely bypass how you time travel, which is
exactly.
probably good.
Yeah, he arrives in a black ball.
He just
carves out the ground,
Yes.
in a lightning storm.
Stands up really slow, kills a cop, steals his clothes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this episode needed for Mr. Fairlawn.
Yes.
So yeah, I think if you had that story, you could have made it really interesting. Actually, you would have had a villain who you could get behind, and maybe he can see the implication of this chemical, and he wants to kill his co-creators. I think that would have been a great episode.
It's better that we never were.
That's right. And then they burn up together. Yeah.
And then they burn up.
Well, it is.
I'm good with this episode. I think we've talked about all we can right now. So,
well, let us return to the future and put this one to bed. Mike, I shall give you the final word.
Ladies and gentlemen, when and if we come across technology that allows us to travel in time, through time, use it wisely. Use it wisely. And if anyone older comes back and says, hey, we gotta stop this, or people are gonna die, just believe them, because if you don't, they're gonna attack you. So always listen to your elders.
Or your elder selves.
Your elder selves. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.